Hi everyone, and today I'm going to be doing a video discussing whether Tourette syndrome is a disability. So the term disability means different things to different people, and different people prefer different terms on how to describe their condition. But to me, saying that I was disabled, I didn't see that as a negative thing because it acknowledged the difficulties that I faced on a daily basis. Because I did get some reactions of people saying, "Oh no, you shouldn't say that, I don't see you as disabled." But at the time, I was disabled, both by my own condition and by society. And I don't think it's a negative term at all because it just acknowledges the difficulties that you are facing and doesn't make you any less of a person, it just acknowledges that you have difficulties. But when we talk about the social model of disability, it's the idea that rather than just being disabled by your bodies, you're also disabled by society and lack of sort of accommodations and stuff. So in terms of Tourette's, I think that being disabled by society would be where you're not getting the appropriate accommodations, support and modifications in school, college, university and in the workplace. Because if you are, for example, in school or something and didn't have any support, then it wouldn't go down that well. Because I know for me, having the support in school is what got me through school and allowed me to pass my GCSEs. And if I didn't have that support, I don't think I would have passed, and there's a possibility that I wouldn't even got through school. I remember in year 10, my school were actually trying to move me to a special educational needs school. So I know that if I didn't have the support, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So I'm incredibly thankful that I got the support I needed. Also, facing ignorance and negative stereotypes can also be a social barrier. Because if you're around people who don't understand your condition, they may just make fun of it and stuff. That would obviously make you feel quite negative about yourself. So that would be a massive barrier to your self-esteem as well. And being discriminated against, for example, if you're sent out of class or out of an environment for something you can't control, then it would hinder your development of self-acceptance because you'd find it hard to accept yourself because others aren't accepting you. Because for me, in year 9, I was sent out of my French class a few times, but that wasn't the best thing to do, obviously, because that did seem to impact my mental health negatively because I didn't like being sent out, and of course it would make my grades suffer in that class. But luckily I did go to a really, really supportive school, and that teacher left because I just don't think he understood the condition, but luckily all my other teachers were wonderful and I want to say thank you to them because they were amazing. But also I think that not being in a supportive community would also be a massive barrier because talking to my friends and stuff has helped me so much. But also I think that one of the biggest social barriers that we face as part of the Tourette's community is the negative ideas, like the misinformation towards suppression. Because I know that some Tourette's organisations strangely seem to promote suppression like it's a good thing. But as someone with Tourette syndrome, I can tell you that tic suppression is one of the most harmful things we could possibly do. Because for me, if I suppress, then later on, when I'm at home, it leads to very severe tics and rage attacks, and that obviously makes home life very miserable. And tic suppression is also very uncomfortable and can also damage your mental health. So I would never recommend it in any case. And unfortunately, one of the biggest barriers I think the Tourette's community is facing at the minute is these negative ideas towards tic suppression, because some people seem to think it's a good thing when it's actually a really bad thing in my circumstance anyway. But yes, also, some people are disabled by their condition and by their bodies. For me, I would say I mostly, at the time when I was younger, came into this area because I did lose the ability to dress myself, sleep in a room my own, use the toilet in my home, really do anything, and I couldn't write properly, I couldn't read a book without ripping the pages out, I couldn't use a computer, I couldn't play with my toys, so I was very severely disabled by my Tourette's, and not just by society. But obviously nobody deserves to go through that. It was a living hell, it was no quality of life, and my childhood was stolen away from me, so I wouldn't wish it on anyone. So in that case I was disabled by my own body. And nobody with a disability should feel like a burden. And luckily I didn't feel like a burden at the time, although I do know that Tourette's does affect the family a lot. But I think the main issue for me was that I was disabled by my body, and that caused a lot of distress and hindered me from doing the things I want to do. But also I think that another factor that could be being disabled by your condition and not just by society is the things that other people can't see that support may not help with as much. So for me, I think that would be the premonitory urges, because my premonitory urges and the sensations were always quite strong and they're very uncomfortable, and that meant that they sometimes actually made me feel sick and I would beg to make it stop. So I would say that that was disabling me, because no amount of accommodations I would get would stop that sensation and stop the stress that it caused, although it is still really important to have a support network, because talking to my friends did help with that somewhat, but unfortunately the sensation didn't go away because of that. And also phantom tics, they're very scary, and unfortunately no accommodation seemed to help that either, because that was out-of-body sensations and that just really scared me. Something that I think could go into both areas of being disabled by society but also by your own body is rage attacks. Because with a rage attack, I am disabled by my own body because we lose control of our rational thinking and actions, and although rage attacks are not tics, they are just as uncontrollable as the tics, and we don't mean them, and obviously they cause a lot of distress to ourselves and also the people around us. So I think that would be being disabled by my own body because of the distress it causes, and obviously I can't control what I do in a rage attack, but technically you could also be disabled by society because of it as well, because if someone didn't understand rage attacks and tried to punish you for it, then that wouldn't work and could affect your mental health, because rage attacks are neurological storms and not a behavioural problem, so punishment would not help. But yes, different people use different labels to describe their Tourette's and see it as part of their identity and stuff. So some people say it's a disability, some people say it's an illness, and some people say it's a neurodiversity. And for me, I've actually used all those 3 different labels at different times in my life, depending on how my Tourette syndrome affects me. So I would say that within the first 4 years, I actually described it as an illness, and my family do actually refer to it as the time I was ill, because my brain was inflamed, I had a glassy stare in my eyes, my pupils were dilated, and I just couldn't do anything at all, and I was severely disabled with, obviously, the tics, I couldn't do anything, the rage attacks as well, personality changes, which were quite strange. I did have a lot of personality changes, which I'm not sure if they are, like, I haven't seen them that much in Tourette's, but I seem to have them, so I was very ill because it wasn't any quality of life, and I believe that neurodiversity is something to be celebrated, but unfortunately at the time that wasn't something that could be celebrated at all, because it just had negatives, although now that I'm older I see that it did give me strength and align me with my life purpose, but at the time I did see it as an illness. However, at the ages of 14 and 15, my tics were still severe, but I wasn't as severely disabled as I was before, because I did have my normal personality back, and I no longer had the rage attacks or Tourette OCD, but I did still have severe motor and vocal tics, as well as phantom tics and sensory tics. And at that time, I didn't class it as an illness anymore, but I classed it as a disability and a neurodiversity. I classed it as a disability because even though I could now dress myself and stuff, and I did have my independence back, I was still disabled because my motor tics made it difficult to do everyday things like write and stuff, and made it difficult for me to go to school all the time, and I did a half days and stuff. But I also say it's a neurodiversity because I wanted to be accepted and understood, and at the time I didn't feel like I needed to be fixed because I wasn't broken, obviously. We're not broken, we don't need to be fixed, so I did see it as a neurodiversity. Luckily now that I'm older, my Tourette's is a lot well managed, and I'm not really disabled by it anymore. My condition is quite mild now, which I'm obviously very grateful for, because we thought that would never happen when I was younger. We thought I'd be reliant on my parents for my entire life, and I remember my mum was actually looking up DBS and stuff, thinking that I might have to have that. But I'm lucky now that I do have a quality of life, and I just want to help others with the condition. So now I no longer see it as a disability for me because I'm no longer disabled by it. And I don't see it as an illness anymore because it doesn't affect me in that way anymore. But I do see it as a neurodiversity because now I see the qualities that it's given me and how it has helped me to help others. And I feel like that should be celebrated. The positives that it has given me should be celebrated. But that still doesn't take away the suffering that the condition can cause in some circumstances. I hope you liked this video. Bye bye.